I'll tell you for sure you will. Even if it is not in this life, it will be in the next life. Every single one of us is going to stand in front of Allah on the Day of Judgment, yeah? Does anyone have a doubt about that? We don't have a doubt about that. We're believers. And when we stand in front of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the Day of Judgment, we are all going to be desperately in need. And at that time, if we helped someone in this life, guess what happens then? Allah will help us when we're standing in front of Him. And I promise you, that's when we are desperately in need of help. The Prophet ﷺ tells us that Allah will continue to support us so long as we continue to support others. This is a prophetic tradition. This is a sahih hadith. That when we continue to support others, Allah will continue to have our backs. In another hadith, the Prophet ﷺ says something that will blow your mind. You know, when we think about righteousness, when we think about how to be religious, how to be beloved to God, what do we usually think about? We think about rituals, we think about praying, we think about fasting, right? If I told you, think about a person who is most loved by Allah, what would you think of? You'd probably think of a person who spends their nights and days in the masjid, right? Or of that sort. Do you know there's a hadith in which the Prophet ﷺ tells us that the most beloved person to Allah is the one who is the most helpful to people. And the most beloved deeds or actions to Allah is that you would bring happiness to the heart of a believer, that you would help a believer in their time of need, that you would protect the believer from harm or hunger or help them pay their debts. Now this is the part that blows my mind. The Prophet ﷺ says in this hadith that I prefer, it is more beloved to me, that I would prefer to help my brother / sister included in need, in their time of need, than to be in i'tikaf. Anyone know what i'tikaf is? Seclusion in the masjid. He said that it is more beloved, I would prefer to help someone in need than to be in i'tikaf in this masjid. Is he pointing at this location? Where is he pointing, guys? Where is the Prophet ﷺ talking about? Which masjid is he standing in? Masjid al-Nabawi. This is the masjid in Medina. He is saying that it is more, I prefer, that he prefers to help another person in need than to be in seclusion in the Masjid al-Nabawi of Medina for a month. For a month. This is the weight of being at the service of people in the eyes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So I want to wrap up with this. When I make an appeal to people to serve others, when I make an appeal to people to give to others, I tell them this, that honestly, you are serving and giving to yourself first. You are protecting your own interests when you help others. Because at the end of the day, we're human and we want to protect our own interests. We want self-preservation. We want safety for ourselves and our families. This is how you do it, is be at the service of others. When you hear that someone is being treated unjustly and you stand up for that person, it will come back to you. And that's a promise of God. It will come back to you by God Himself. He will guard you. He will protect you in your time of calamity and in your time of need. The second thing I want to tell you is this, and I'm just going to wrap it up with a story. A few days ago, so I go to and from airports a lot, right? So I end up riding in a lot of Ubers. And one of the Uber drivers was talking about some investments that he was very focused on, okay? So me and my husband are sitting in the Uber, and he's talking about this thing called Bitcoins. Basically, it's this new type of currency that's up and coming. Anyway, so what he says is this. This guy tells us that the only reason he is doing Uber driving, he already owns a business, but the only reason he's doing Uber driving is so he can buy Bitcoins. Okay. But here's what I found really interesting. He said that a few years ago, before this Bitcoin thing,